Hey, Jules. How are ya?
It's been a week, so yeah, for sure. It's officially summer, which is kind of cool. Although,
Is it?
yeah, I didn't realize that until the other day, and I was told that it was summer. I'm like, wait, yes, you're right, it is summer. I had to look up and see it on the calendar, but the weather around here would belie that. But yeah,
Well,
it's summer.
it's 105 here. It's literally like
Hmm.
my skin is searing when I step outside. It's horrible. It's
Yeah.
so miserable. The cats will only go out at like midnight to like 3 a.m. It's awful. And I hate it. So it's officially time. I literally was like in the Costco parking lot being like, I hate Arizona. Why do I live here? And I'm like, oh, I say this every year. I say this every year. And like anytime I go to a place where I have to have a cart and it's full of stuff and then I have to load it into my hot car and I'm just like, I hate it here. And then with menopause, it's like, I hate it here even more. I'm hot all the time. I'm
Yeah.
sweating in irregular places. It's not okay.
I don't
I
like
was
that at
watching this
all.
TikTok about a dermatologist who puts salicylic acid wash, like acne wash,
Hmm.
on her armpits, and it
Hmm.
actually helps mitigate smell because it takes away the bacteria. And I've been starting to do it, and I swear to God, it works. And I'm like, did I really just learn something from dermatology TikTok? It's great.
I don't know. My daughter watches that. She loves
Yeah.
it.
Oh my God, I
I
love it. So
know. That's
I'm
hilarious. So,
experiencing some different things.
in what form are you accessing this salicylic acid? Is
Just
it
like an acne
pads or is it like a
wash.
liquid
No,
or
just
okay?
a liquid
It's just
acne
straight up.
wash.
Got it.
Dr.
Okay.
Zenobia has hormonal acne care, which I have now have acne at the ripe age of 40 that I never had
Mm-hmm.
before. I had beautiful skin
Mm-hmm.
and I still think I have pretty good skin, but it has become so gross with menopause. It is not okay. And so I use Dr. Zenobia hormonal acne products and I love them so much. I cannot say enough amazing things about these products. Love them. Mwah, chef's kiss. Great products for menopause.
I love it. That's
So I use
fantastic.
their acne wash
Mm-hmm.
now in my armpits because that's what dermatology TikTok told me about.
Well, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter where you got the information. If it works, then we are all about spreading that helpful information.
Mm. So in summary, I hate the summer, and now everyone knows that I'm smelly.
Did not need to open
Not all
that
the time.
Pandora's box. I apologize, listeners, for
You're
opening
welcome.
that
Summer's
Pandora's box.
horrible. But
Yeah, okay. Well,
I did go to a summer solstice yoga event. We got gems, we got rocks.
really?
Yeah.
That's
The,
nice.
yep.
Seems
It was
very
put on by
generous
a
of them.
certifiable hippie. She said that the
Okay.
rocks were blessed, which I'm not sure I know what that means. But
Did you feel different after being in the presence of said rocks?
absolutely not.
Okay.
But sometimes the placebo effect can be good. So I'm like, okay, I'll take this rock. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And then she made us dance, and then I realized how uncomfortable I am dancing in front of people. But because she said it's summer solstice, that we had to like have a celebration, and
Mm-hmm.
some astrological cycles are more like setting new intentions for the year and like really changing who you're going to be based on the seasons. But summer solstice is just about celebrating the sun, and I'm like, I just want to do some yoga, man. It got
I
real
see now.
intense real quick,
I
and I'm like, I just
I
want to go
can't
home.
believe I just was sitting at my computer all day and didn't even realize it was the first day of summer and I missed summer solstice and you were doing all these cool things. I feel even more left out. I just work and work and work. That's all I do.
Do you want
This
to
is
rock?
bad. Yeah. Would you plop one of those gem rock things in the mail to me and I can rub it and maybe
Mm-hmm.
feel a little bit more in tune
Mm-hmm.
with the changing moon
Seasons?
phases?
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be
Honestly, if
great.
you lived here, we do all this weird stuff together. It would be
Oh,
so
we
great. You would
would. We
love
would.
it.
And then I would be smelly and it would be great.
I don't know if I don't I don't know if that would rub off on you, but now
I
I
don't
have the
know.
hiccups because I laughed so hard at that summer
Mm,
solstice dance party that I went to.
yeah. Well, it sounds like a lot of fun, actually, but a lot more fun than what I
I
did apparently on summer solstice, which was
um
nothing, yeah, as we just discussed. So, yeah.
I only went because I'm having the worst week and my credit card was stolen.
What?
Yeah.
Stolen or you
And
lost it? Was it
was
stolen at the Summer Solstice Yoga
no,
Fest?
it was lost, and then someone found it and used it and spent a
Oh.
lot of money on it.
Hmm.
So, what is one good thing about having celiac disease is they make it really easy for you when you walk through with the bank on your charges to see what seems like somewhere you would eat at and where you wouldn't.
So where did this said stealing credit card thief use your credit card that you would not have eaten at as a celiac?
McDonald's.
Yeah.
So he's like, so you have a charge at McDonald's, which seems like not like normal. And I'm like, it's not, that's not me. So it's stolen. I'm like, right away. McDonald's stolen.
Yeah.
And then it was like a bunch of money at QT, which I'm like, what are you buying at QT? So yeah.
Like a C-store.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Like a convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, gas? Okay. But like, are you getting cash back? Like, what are you doing on this card that you're spending so much money on it? So what sucks is that I am traveling a lot, and that is my travel card. And I'm fine with using another one. I have multiple credit cards that do different things, but I'm just like, really? So this whole week has just been endless pings to my phone saying, hey, your HBO
Is this
Max.
You?
Yeah, no, it's your HBO Max subscription isn't working anymore because your credit card is
just called
declined.
Max now.
Your Max subscription is over. It doesn't even seem like that's a real thing. I'm just like, it will always
stupid. I can't believe
HBO
they
Max.
did that.
So all of my like MailChimp, Linktree, all the things for my blog are just like, that's expired.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All these things stopped because they're like, well, you can't pay. And I'm like, okay. So all week has just been like, oh, let me get my new credit card out. Let me tell you my number, because I'm still waiting for my new credit card to come. And I'm just like, thanks a lot, whatever. And I think that I lost it in between not Bath and Body Works. Why do I keep saying that? Bed Bath and Beyond.
Oh, are they still open near you?
Yes. So they're final clearance. So I went and I bought like a humidifier and like some other like OXO products that were on heavily discounted stuff.
Yeah.
They even have Dysons still there.
Oh,
they're
wow.
50% off. So
maybe I need to.
By the way, this week is 60 to 80% off. Just saying 60 to 80% off. I just got the email. So in my shopping center.
Can you still use their coupon?
No.
Like the ones that they mail to you?
They make that very explicit. They're like,
fine.
Coupons.
Darn it. Okay.
In my shopping center is Bed Bath & Beyond. Next to it, oddly enough, Bath & Body Works. And then some weird shoe store and then a Michael's. So I had to go in between Bed Bath & Beyond to Michael's. And in between somewhere in there, I lost my card. And I'm sure it was just like fell out of my purse. I'm literally holding 1,800 bags of shit.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, okay, it probably got on the floor. And then some asshole picked it up and was like, let me go to QT and buy everything there.
Yeah.
And
then
first,
get the munchies and go to McDonald's.
First, let's go to McDonald's. So yeah, it's been just really dumb. This has just been the dumbest week ever. And so I went to this solstice party and celebrated being hot for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Until maybe September or October.
Remind me when I ask you, how are you? How's your week? Maybe to like dial that question a little bit more because that was a lot.
Are you sure? It's 11 minutes of me just being like, what is happening with my body and also my credit card?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's fair. That's what's really happening. So I appreciate you being honest and like sharing.
Also, like they ran McDonald's for like $10. Like, why wouldn't you buy everyone at McDonald's like $150 with McDonald's? I know.
Go big or go home. Come on.
If you're gonna get free food, you might as well like pay for other people's meals. Like do some generosity while you're at it.
What's wrong with thieves these days? They have no common decency.
To be fair, I made it easy by probably dropping my card.
Okay.
But like, maybe don't spend it. I don't know. Maybe don't be a bad person.
It's funny because when we were in France a couple weeks ago, we were constantly like trying to make sure that all of our cards and money and everything were just really, really close to the vest, like, you know, in your purse, like right here the whole time or whatever, because the pickpocketing thing over there is so intense. And we met this other couple on the plane on the way back, and they had just gotten back from Italy, and she said that she had a fanny pack and she had it slung over her shoulder. So it was like right here in between her breasts. And she said on the train, she was pickpocketed. How is that even possible? They're that good. It's amazing.
That's so wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you really did make it easy for your
I really did.
thief in the Bed Bath & Beyond parking lot. Yeah. They have to actually have talent over in Europe.
Yeah, no. This, we just hand it to them. Anyway,
right.
I'm stupid. Tell me about Paris, because I feel like it's been so many weeks, but like you still really haven't talked about all the magic that you went through over there.
The magic of patisserie. It's funny.
Or your Italian food.
I know. It's so funny. I did all this research before I left, and I was looking at all these people's posts and all these blogs, and because last year I went to London, and I did this huge post all about like finding gluten-free food in London and also at Heathrow Airport, and put all this information up, and it was really, I think it was a really instructive exercise for me, because there wasn't a lot of information out there about how to do it or whatever. It was scattered. Let's just put it that way. But so for Paris, it was interesting because everyone, when you read about it, everyone is saying, and even right now, people are there, and people had been just coming back recently, and universally, everyone's like, it's hard to eat gluten-free in Paris. You can find patisserie, you can find, sweet stuff, but you can't find real food in Paris. And so that's what the mentality was that I went into it with. And I was like, I came out of it going, what are these people talking about? Like, I found plenty of real gluten-free food in Paris. And so, I think it's become even more important for me to put together the post that I'm putting together right now, that's going up right now, today, about finding gluten-free food in Paris, because it seems like the conventional wisdom is that you can only go to Paris and buy, croissant
a baguette.
and a baguette and like live off of it, because there's no place to eat in a gluten-free restaurant. And there are loads of gluten-free restaurants, 100% gluten-free restaurants, and then a bunch of other restaurants that offer gluten-free food on the menu. And then I ate at several restaurants that didn't technically offer gluten-free food on the menu, but I had no problems finding gluten-free food there, and communicating with folks about how to get a safe gluten-free meal. So I'm a little bit mystified as to why that is such the conventional wisdom about that. So anyway, but a few key takeaways: the gluten-free food in Paris, almost all Italian. Don't understand why, but like all of these places are Italian. It's so funny.
My dad just went to Paris. I think he was literally there the same time that you were there.
I saw him.
The guy that looks just like me. Yeah. And I'm like, why is Jules only finding Italian food? Like that was, and he's like, well, you have to realize like where Paris is so close to Italy, and the migration of people that come in, and like, it's just like, that's just how it is there. And he just went to like Toulouse and a couple of other like little random cities and showed me everything there. But he was talking about how he's like, that makes sense. And I'm like, it just is so wild to me that it's like, enjoy your Parisian experience. Also, here is some Italian food.
Italy North. Yeah. It was very interesting. I mean, I had amazing homemade gluten-free pasta, gnocchi. Like it was really, really good Italian food in Paris. And I mean, gluten-free pizza everywhere. I mean, there was a ton of gluten-free options, but most of them were of the Italian bent.
Now,
so not all of them, but most of them.
How did you do dairy free then? Because that always worries me about Italian food, is because it's so cheese focused.
Yeah, no, that's a really good
Fromage.
point. There was so much awareness I found in that, and it seemed like a lot of the restaurants that were doing the gluten free also were like, "Hey, while we're at it, let's be organic. Let's have some vegan options. Let's do." There's a lot of restaurants have lactose free on their menus. Like we don't see lactose free around here, like as a menu option. It's either vegan or sometimes you'll see dairy free, or you don't see lactose free. And so you'd see that on some of the menus, be lactose free or vegan or, normal. It wasn't, universal, but like my favorite meal of the entire trip was a black truffle potato gnocchi dish that I had that was dairy free. It was so good. So good. Yeah. So, I mean, and that was dairy free. So, you just have to look and ask and whatever. I did not end up having time to hit the ones that had pizza.
Right.
But there was, and I'm writing about one of them that had vegan cheese offerings for their pizza, and they use Violife cheese. Isn't that funny? I know, but like it's
they
over
are
there,
from Europe, yeah.
Yeah.
So how many days were you there?
So we were in Versailles for 2 nights and in Paris for 3. So we weren't like there an exceptionally long period of time. And the angle that I'm taking with my article too is that I don't want people to say, okay, well, I have to hit all these places that Jules is writing about, because then you're structuring your trip around that. I think maybe you pick like 1 or 2 places. You're like, I have to go to these places. But the rest of it, honestly, what I ended up doing was, and this is what I would recommend for people to do as well, is to wherever you happen to be that day, because we didn't have any problems getting in any place. We didn't need like a lot of advanced reservations, but wherever you happen to be that day, using Google Maps and use that as your search engine, because I tried it many, many different ways. I tried Google, I tried Siri, I tried the Apple Maps feature, whatever. And Google Maps by far was absolutely the best way to do it. And you just do gluten-free near me on Google Maps. And it comes up with like a zillion different places near you. And they each have like a little review next to them, and you can click on it and it gives you all the information, and you see exactly how far away it is. And then you can also click, we mostly were walking, so how far is it for me to walk to this place versus take a taxi or whatever. And then it's not dictating your trip. You're not like in Paris and you're like, oh dang, we missed seeing the Louvre because I was on the other side of town because that's the only place I could find gluten-free food. You're in Paris. You're there to see like this, and this, and then you find your food around that. And that's the way we structured our trip. And I think that's really the best way to do it. Did you go to the
Louvre?
Of course we went to the Louvre.
My dad walked by the Louvre and said, not for me. And I go, how dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
I am offended. No, and I've been to the Louvre before. It's one of my favorite places. I am offended. I've been to the Louvre before. It's one of my favorite places on earth. Like, it sounds so cliche. Like, of course you like the Louvre because you're supposed to like the Louvre. But like, I saw parts of the Louvre this trip that I have never seen before. You could spend the week in the Louvre, and still not see everything. So there's something for everyone in the Louvre, and I think your dad would have found something there that he liked. It was awesome, and I was so excited because this was a trip where we took my daughter for graduation. She had never been overseas and certainly never been to Paris, and she's not a museum lover. Doesn't fancy herself like some art lover either. And we went to Musée d'Orsay and we went to the Louvre, and she discovered she really loves Monet, and she discovered that she actually really loved the Louvre. And then there are 2 different places, but she was like, I actually really liked that museum. Like, I could have spent more time in the Louvre. She really loved it. And so that was a big win for me. Like, I just thought, this is fantastic. She finally found a museum that she loved instead of having this, like, I don't like museums. I don't like, I don't like the history and all that. She finally found some place that she loved.
Museums.
So I
love museums.
I do too.
I don't like particularly art museums. I'll go, but I'm not like, oh, I love art museums. Matt loves art museums.
Yeah.
I love weird museums. Give me a weird museum any day of the week.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
Well, you got to come to Baltimore. We have some weird museums here, that's for sure.
I also
Yeah.
like aquariums, which I've been to your
We also have the
aquarium.
best aquarium in Baltimore.
It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty
It's pretty
great.
awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I back
Yeah,
that.
but so I think I obviously went to some dedicated gluten-free bakeries, which
So
were
how-
very fun. But
You're a baker.
yeah,
Was there anything
don't
that
ask me
like
this question.
blew your mind? Of course there wasn't, because you can do it
No.
all better yourself, right? I mean,
I hate that question because like there's so much joy in being able to walk into some place that's 100% gluten-free and to just be able to
Of
buy
course.
something that someone else
yes.
made. So
However, I have been to so many disgusting gluten-free bakeries
Yeah.
over the years that sometimes
Yeah.
I'm not excited
Yeah,
just
I
because
know.
it's gluten-free.
I know.
So,
No,
but
I
it's
tasted
good,
some
though.
things that
It's
were
good.
okay and some things that were not as good. I wish that I had had time to get more things and to
Mhm.
try more things because, it would have been so much fun to just taste my way through every single thing that was offered.
Yeah.
We went to Copain, which is a really neat little dedicated gluten-free bakery, and they had a ton of stuff that I couldn't eat because it all had dairy in it. So I was limited in the things that
Yeah.
I could try. And so other people in our group did try a couple things from there, from the things that had dairy in it. And the ones that I tried were good, and they were fun to be able to eat. That's pretty much all we ate that first morning when we were there at the Louvre. We were exhausted. We just sat down on the floor of the Louvre and we're pulling apart pastries and eating them, which was nice. But then the people there could not have been nicer. The employees at Copain, they gave me like this tour of everything that they offered, and they were so sweet. And it's a beautiful little bakery, and everything looked beautiful. But it was not something that like you would keep it and eat it the next day, which is that's very much the way that Europe and fresh pastries and fresh breads are.
You're supposed to go
And
out every day, right?
Right,
And get it every morning.
Get your fresh baguette every day. And here in
Not
America,
me, we freeze
that's
things.
Yeah, that's
we
right.
freeze things and thaw them and put them in the microwave.
right.
And
Well,
then ruin this structure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if microwaving anything does that. But and here in America, people are like, well, why won't my bread, stay fresh for days and days and days? I'm like, it's not supposed to. It doesn't have
Yeah.
preservatives in it. But that's just not our mentality here. But so I was only able to get enough for that one day. There's there are gluten-free crepes in various places. I didn't love them because universally they're all made
I don't
with
like
buckwheat.
crepes.
I love crepes, but I don't like them like when they're made with 100% buckwheat because they taste like buckwheat.
Mm-hmm.
And buckwheat to me is a blending flour. It's not a
not 100%.
No. Mm-mm. But hey, you know what? I'm in Paris. I'm going to eat a gluten-free crepe. I don't care whether it's made with buckwheat or not. So it was fun to just be able to taste things like that. I was trying not to be too judgy, but just enjoy it. Enjoy what you're there for. But again, unless your trip is I'm going to Paris to eat gluten-free food, I don't think that's what most people do. They're in Paris to see the Eiffel Tower. They're in Paris to go to the Louvre, whatever. And then they need to be able to eat around that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very easy to do that. There are a ton of options. And, several dedicated gluten-free restaurants, depending on where you are, dedicated gluten-free bakeries. You still have to ask all the questions, when they're not dedicated gluten-free. And of course, if you have other dietary restrictions, I'm not going to lie. There were a couple times when my lunch was macaron, like this, the meringue cookies that are made with almond flour and egg whites, because there are places almost on every street where you can buy those, and they're gluten-free. And I didn't want it to hold me up. Like, I was with a group of people. I didn't want to have to be dictating, we're going to have to go here and there or whatever to go find something else to eat. So I just had, some cookies as my lunch, which was fine because that's not what I was there for. I was just like, I'm going to grab this and
between your
move
time
on.
in London and France, what did you prefer? Food-wise.
Oh,
Sorry,
well,
not talking about is the Arc de Triomphe better than Big Ben?
Yeah. that's a tough one because um, the trip was so different. I mean, when I was in London, it was just with a girlfriend of mine. And so I was much less restricted in terms of, like, we could go to, we could plan for gluten-free meals a little bit more than we could with like having younger girls with us, like who, didn't want to do and, weren't as flexible, I guess, as just having like
Yeah.
one other girlfriend with you. You got a group of 4 people and you have to make everyone happy. It's a little bit different than just one other
Who'd you
person.
go with? I thought you just went with the 2 girls.
And my girlfriend. And it was
Oh,
her
okay.
daughter and
Oh, okay.
my daughter. Yeah.
So there was
And-
another adult with you at least.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
I, for some reason, thought you took the 2 girls by yourself. I'm like, that's a lot.
Oh no, no, that would not have been something that I would have chosen to do. But no, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's plenty both places, but I'd say I ate better in London, just because I planned it all out in advance and then just sort of stuck with that. And we had we had fewer things that we were trying to dart from one thing to another. I mean, there was so much to see in Paris. Not that there's not as much to see in London, but we didn't structure our trip as tightly as we did in Paris. And there just wasn't as much time in Paris to fit in restaurants and things. You can hear my cat.
I hear her eating that.
Yeah, she's trying to eat yeah, she is. Sorry, she's going to town. But there's no bread in my office today for her to eat, so she's got to eat my my headphone cord. But so I think that was the difference, is that, we were not as heavily structured in London as we were in Paris, and there's just no time. We were like darting from one thing to another, to another, to another. And so there just wasn't as much time to, to vary off the path to do anything.
So tell me about the language barriers, because I know that people go to London because they feel like it's going to be easier because everyone speaks some variety of English. Now, for Paris, I've heard both. I've heard that they hate Americans and that they hate tourists, and they're just like, oh, American tourists, blah. And then I hear from people who are just like, no, it's amazing. Everybody speaks English. It's absolutely no problem. Like, they love tourists. It's great. What is it?
It depends. I think if you're able to try to speak French, then most people really appreciate that, and then they'll cut you slack and they'll be like, oh, okay, you're giving it an effort. And so then I'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll help you out. If you don't try and you're like, I'm American, like, then they're not so happy to help you. And and that's a little bit embarrassing to be that person anyway. Like, don't be that person. Like, just, you're in someone else's country. Like, try.
So are you
give it a little try.
Are you like parlez-vous anglais? Or are you like, bonjour, comment allez-vous? My name is Jules and I say everything in French, mais sans cash.
Mais sans cash. Well, I mean, okay, it's also, it's hard for me to say that too, because I do speak some French. So I was certainly giving it the old college try. But there were a lot of people in Paris speak some English, and certainly in the restaurants. But if you just throw out enough words like, I can't eat gluten in French, then you're fine. Like, and
like, tell me, we're gonna role play. Bonjour.
What do you want me to do? Seriously,
I want you to say, bonjour, do you have anything that's gluten-free? Or like, say something that's like, what about gluten-free? Do something, say something exciting.
Well, okay. So one of the things that I'm doing in my article, and I have a cook card listing that I'm going to link to for people, because I think it's really helpful. I can't remember how many languages, but I have like what you would need to say, to people in Chinese and in French and in Spanish. And you can just download this card and take it with you, even if you don't speak those languages. But you can Google Translate is super, super, super helpful for people, who don't speak the language, because the hardest thing about French is the accent. because you can read whatever Google Translate says, but like trying to pronounce it properly is really the difficult
I'm on a
thing.
podcast with you. I understand.
Yeah. Well, what I said to people was, je ne peux pas manger de gluten. And I mean,
Do
gluten.
you have je me pas, je me
that's in
je m'appelle is my name, right?
Je ne peux pas.
And je ne peux.
Je ne peux pas manger de gluten. I don't eat
je
gluten.
ne peux pas manger de gluten.
I can't eat gluten, right?
I can't eat gluten.
I can't eat gluten, right?
And then you do this, and you're like, sorry. And then you're like, my tummy hurts.
Well, and then you really want to drive home the point, and you'd be like, j'ai la maladie cœliaque.
Like, I have the malady of celiac disease.
Yeah. And then people are like, oh, celiac. And then they know, like, you're like, don't mess around, right?
Do you have a translation for don't mess around? Because I feel like that would also.
No, this is my translation. I would go, like, please. Like, yeah. And then they usually would be like, oh, yeah, I got you, you know? And then you would look at the menu and be like, sans gluten, you know, like no gluten, like on the menu, you know, you just sort of do that kind of thing. And
what's
people
dairy?
are like, oh,
sans fromage.
No, that's cheese. That's cheese. Lait is milk. Fromage is cheese. Ow. God, my cat. This is the cat that does the love bites, but she breaks skin. She's like really loves
She loves
me.
You a lot.
Yes.
Je ne
peux pas. Okay, here's an easier one. Je dois manger.
J'adore. Perfume.
Manger sans gluten.
Manger sans gluten.
Mm-hmm, yeah, you got it. You're all over it.
Food free from gluten.
Just say,
I'm American.
Just say sans. I'm trying to figure out the easiest way to tell people just who don't speak it.
Well, like, I know what sans gluten is.
That's all you have to do is just say sans gluten and point to the menu.
Sans lait. Lait et fromage. E
is not no.
And.
A is and.
Lait et fromage.
Oui.
Sans
yes.
lait et fromage.
Yes.
Question mark?
Yeah. And then you just do the universal. Yeah. No, but it's pretty easy, like to with body language. You know what I mean? And then they feel sorry for you, and they're like, "Oh, sure, got it." But I mean, no, seriously, I found so many menus that had the demarcation on there. You know, the universal wheat stock with an X through it, and all that. I mean, and we all know what that means. And then a lot of the menus would just say sans gluten on it, and you know, if you know what those words mean, you're looking for it, you can see that. And then if you just impress upon them, you know, celiac, you don't even have to say the rest of it. Just say celiac. Yeah. People understand celiac. And I didn't find any problem at all with doing that. And I ate some great meals. I had gluten-free pasta multiple times. And then in other places that didn't have anything on the menu that was necessarily gluten-free, I had like salade niçoise. I had another place.
What is niçoise, by the way? Is that tuna?
It's a salad that was made famous in Nice.
Nice.
The town of Nice.
Yes.
France.
Does that have tuna in it, or is it an egg?
It does have tuna in it. It has egg and tuna and potatoes and olives. Green beans. Yes.
Okay.
It's a very filling salad.
It really is. I don't particularly enjoy it, but it's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So there's different options that you can get. And then if you just say to the you know, waiter that you're just like, you know, sans gluten, you know, like if the person's like, I don't understand what you're saying, you know, and then they go, oh, got you, you know, so then they're not going to put anything else on top of it.
So are they like well versed enough to be like, if I need pasta and I have celiac, that they know that they can't cook it in the same water? Because that's like, how do you talk about that?
The one time that the first time that I had gluten-free pasta, I was going to order a salad because this was the very first night we were there. We were in Versailles, and I was just like talking to the woman there, and she didn't speak any any English at all. And I was like, basically just going over the menu. I was like, so pretty much the only thing I can order here is a salad. She's like, yes. And then the next guy came over, and I guess he was maybe some kind of a manager or whatever. He's like, no, we have gluten-free pasta. I'm like, do you though? Like,
Do you?
yeah, I'm like, I have celiac. He goes, oh, no, I got you. And I said, something about it being in separate water. And he says, oh, yeah. Totally separate. Like, and it wasn't even on the menu. And
the moral of the story is just make grand gestures.
Yes.
Like, this is like, please don't kill me. And this is like not the same water.
Exactly. And then
what
this
is
one
the
for
mare?
sure.
No mare. No mare.
No ocean.
No ocean. No ocean. No ocean.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then no one wants to get you sick, but like, you just sort of impress upon them that. And I didn't have any problems with it, but it's obviously up to you and your comfort level and whether you want to plan in advance or whatever. But usually someone at each restaurant spoke some amount of English, and between their broken English and our broken French or whatever, you can usually figure it out. So,
all right. So I know, I took 7 years of Spanish, which is a Romance language.
So you could probably understand the French.
Can I get by with enough shoulder shrugs?
Yes.
And this and the limited sans gluten.
Because it's more about, I think anyone who's taken Romance languages, they all are very similar sounding and they have root words that are very, very similar. So you could probably have a pretty decent comprehension. And certainly if you were looking at a menu, it's much easier to understand a lot of the words. Like you could pick out some key words on the menu.
I did feel pretty good with my dad showing me the menus on some of his places. Of course, he didn't have gluten-free food, so he didn't show me any of the gluten-free menus, but he's like, found this hamburger place by my hotel and it was amazing. And he showed me the handwritten menu and I'm like, oh, I could probably guess the majority of these based on the Romance language that I took for 7 years that I still don't remember.
Right.
But yeah.
And then the rest of it, you just use Google Translate. You're like, I don't understand this. And then you use
emojis.
You use your same knowledge that you use in the United States. Like, I'm not going to order the French fries or the frite because they're probably done in a fryer that has other stuff, right? Because you look at their menu and you see that they have other stuff that's fried. So I'm just not ordering that. It's the same thing you would do in the United States. So you don't check your common sense at the door.
But their level of knowledge of celiac disease is much higher, as in every European country is, than the U.S.
Yeah, nobody batted an eye. Everyone knew exactly what I was talking about, and there were several dedicated gluten-free restaurants that I found just in any arrondissement that I happened to be in. I was like, oh, the problem that I had was that their hours were so weird. Because because like I said, we had these scheduled things we had to do every single day. So we had this tour, we had that ticket, we had this and this and this. So fitting in these restaurants that I found all over the place that happened to be open at those times was the difficult part for me. And if we hadn't been so heavily scheduled, if it had just been my girlfriend and me, we wouldn't have needed to, go to the Dior museum or whatever. Then I know, then we would have been able to get to that gluten-free pizza restaurant or whatever. But by the time we were done with the Dior museum, we didn't have time to walk there because they closed at 2. They have really odd hours. And so that was the thing that, people need to definitely make sure that they're aware of. A lot of these places are open 7 days a week, but they're not necessarily open at the hours that you might be wanting to go there.
Interesting. Did you get a chance to go see any farmers markets while you were there? Or street markets?
Street markets for clothing and things, but not for food. Yeah. The other thing that I would like to point out is if anyone's traveling in August, I've heard from several people, several of my readers who have said that they have had trouble in France in August because so many places closed down for holiday.
Like just like their normal vacation time? Everyone takes a vacation in August?
Yeah. And I would see signs up in different places. Like I saw one restaurant that said, that they don't take vacation. So it's like, it's the odd kind of non-holiday restaurant that's open
Europeans,
in August.
Man.
Yeah. Hey, quality of life. It's way to go. Good for you. I'm so happy that you get to take holiday for the month of August. I wish I got to take holiday for the month of August, but
you can. We'd all just be unemployed and poor. Like we could also take. We could have every day off if we wanted to. We just need to afford things.
Yeah. Anyway, so just keep that in mind that they're not necessarily living the same life that we're living in terms of scheduling. Yeah. They sort of take the siesta in the afternoon and they take
a whole month of August.
Yeah. And some of the restaurants close a bit earlier than you might anticipate as well. So just make sure you've checked the hours before you start counting on.
And everyone has a website. Like they all have the internet. They all have Instagram.
Not all have websites. No, they don't. But what they do have is they have things like the Fork or other things like that you can check out to do reservations or find ways to contact the restaurant. But a lot of them don't have websites. But I'm linking to all the ones that I'm recommending in my post with either their Instagram or another way of contacting the restaurant. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting that they don't all have websites, but maybe that's a European thing too.
Who knows, man? That's wild.
I don't know.
So other than this, did you have any other trips happening internationally soon?
No, I do not. No, my next trip is to Ogden, Utah, to go to the My Gluten-Free World Expo in October. Well, I guess I'm going to Expo East in September in Philly. So
looks like we have the same fall schedule, Jules. Yay. I'm also going to Fencing in Denver. It's happening right after My Gluten-Free World Expo. So just hop right on over from Salt Lake to Denver. So
very nice.
Exciting stuff.
Very nice.
Well, what an exciting episode that we had today, talking all about Paris. Obviously we can talk your ear off, but we'll save that for another episode. But thank you so much for joining us today on You Had Me at Eat. And remember, bonjour, comment allez-vous? Je m'appelle Erica, sans gluten et fromage et lait. Merci. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Adios. How about that?
Shoulder shrug emoji.
There you go. I'm trying to speak your language now.
No mare.
No mare. No mare.
No mare.
This is just a jumble of random words that Eric is throwing out now. Maison
Hey kids. Hey kids. Take 7 years of language in college and have absolutely no effect on your life whatsoever because you still have no idea what's going on most of the time in a foreign country.
Sounds about right. If you take 7 years of language in the United States, that's accurate.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Pretty much.
Absolutely. Someone spoke to me the other day. I'm like, no say. I don't know. No say. I was like, CSE? I don't know. How much language you speak? I don't know. No say. Don't know. And no puedo más. I can't take anymore, which is the only thing that I actually say on a regular basis because I cannot take anymore on a regular basis. I'm like, no puedo más, no puedo más, no puedo más.
As long as you have a catchphrase like that in another language.
No puedo más. No sé. No mer.
That's perfect. I love it. All
right.
It works.
We'll see you in another episode. Have a happy trip. If you're going to Paris, good luck. Happy 4th of July, everyone.